Hey, welcome to the Citizen Mike Show. Thanks for tuning in. We do appreciate it. My name is Mike Brodinsky, and sharing that split screen with me is Chris Regan, a first-time candidate for the Wallingford Town Council, and his wife, Donna Regan, already on the Board of Education of Wallingford, also running for re-election. Guys, thanks for coming on the show. Appreciate your bravery on this.
Thanks, Mike.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay. I want to talk to you a little bit first about just how the campaigns are unfolding. Chris, this is your first time around, your first time campaigning. How's it going? What are you doing? And take the pulse of the public for me. Do you feel a lot of energy out there or more apathy?
So there is a little bit of both in different cases. I actually have found that I love the opportunity to meet new people, something that historically I was fairly shy about. But talking about the issues that we're having around town, doing the regular campaigning pieces, the door knocking, the signs, the media buys, and all of those pieces, and fine tuning the message has been a wonderful experience for me. And more importantly, people want change. Talking to just everybody on the street, the mindset is, thank God there's going to be significant change this year. The council has changed, the chairman has changed, the mayor will be changing. We have a real opportunity to move this town forward at this point in time.
Yeah, Donna, with respect to your campaign, historically, the Board of Ed candidates don't campaign as hard and as fast. They don't spend as much money. You don't see as many lawn signs out there. But I want to get your personal perspective about your campaign and how you see it going.
I'm putting my lawn signs out. Those are those nice, really bright pink ones that are out there. We're putting lawn signs out. We're showing up at events. We're being a part of the community. We understand that the Board of Education may not be the top priority on people's minds this election. There's a lot that's in front of us that I don't think just diminishes us, but I do think that maybe it gives us the opportunity to put our head down a little more and do a little more work rather than being out there campaigning and fundraising. I mean, we're still out there and we're still wanting to talk to the public and making sure people know who we are. But you're right. It's not as critical, I think, for us to be as out there as the other candidates.
Yeah, this episode of the Citizen Mike Show makes history in that we've never had a husband and a wife combo, like a power couple, on the Citizen Mike Show before. So an obvious question when I first started exchanging emails, why would you ever want to do it? Donna, why would you ever want to share the screen with your husband, Chris, and vice versa? But Donna, I'll go to you first. What's going on here?
So I guess my question back to you is why not? I mean, we have a common love of providing to the community. We're at a point in our lives where we can. So, I mean, we share so much already. We share a home, we share our children. So I think this is just a natural way for us to continue that. We share the screen as well. And then I think you can look at it not maybe as a power couple, but maybe you look at it as there's a Board of Ed representation and there's a town council representation. So we get two different viewpoints, maybe on some of the same issues.
Yeah, not all of my editorial comments are deadly serious. Sometimes they get playful. You just kind of have to roll with that, I guess. Chris, you're again, same thing, sharing the screen. Never happened before. Were you talked into it?
Absolutely not. There was I've always had historically over the last 20 years that I've lived here in town, been wanting to be more part of the community, wanted to be, being more involved in committees, et cetera. And I started to do that over the last few years. I don't see that we're running in any type of conflicting area. It's complementary. The Board of Ed budget acts on its own. without town council overview. We provide the dollars, but they provide all of the detail behind that level of experience. So I don't see any conflict. I see opportunity. Uh,
Yeah, let's talk about this conflict of interest issue, because that's the first thing that popped into my head when you guys were running. Chris, your role is distinct as a town councilor. You maybe dismantle Board of Ed budgets or look at them critically or analytically, whereas before that, the Board of Ed has put their full faith into the budget that they present to you for close scrutiny. And the issue of conflict of interest, I'm gonna pose it this way. I think there's something called the Code of Ethics, which is the letter of the law, and there's something more vague, which is sort of the spirit of the conflict of interest issues, which everyone has an idea about. I mean, they all are experts on sort of the philosophy of a conflict of interest. So I'm going to put you two different examples, both at the extremes, to illustrate what I'm getting at.
Sure.
There could be a husband on the Wallingford Town Council that says when a Board of Ed, comes up and his wife is on the Board of Ed, I never listen to my wife. I don't care what she says. I never rely on her. It's easy for me to say no. We argue all the time. I really don't care, what her position is. It has no impact on me what, she has, voted on or supported, and I'm not afraid of any conflict at home. Domestic tranquility is not an issue. There's another husband at the other extreme, which maybe it's not extreme, maybe it's more common sense, is I value my wife's opinion deeply. And if she, feels very deeply about a cause, I'm going to give every consideration and latitude to that cause. And I hesitate to go against a strong feeling that my wife has on an issue. In between, there's a lot of ground. I presented two extremes there. But that sort of illustrates a potential dilemma. Can a husband sit on the town council and deny the wife's Board of Education request and not fear consequences? Don't take the word consequence too literally, but I think you get the issue I'm trying to present. What are your thoughts on that?
Sure. So it's not like I'm going against Donna's decision, no matter what it may be, no matter what. She's part of a larger body dictated to by the state, in their actions, et cetera. And I would be analyzing and will be analyzing the board as a whole in each of their decisions and not individuals in that case. I believe, and we've shown through 22 years of marriage plus, that we've got the ability to work together and one together, if you use that term, on different issues on completely opposite side of the fence.
Yeah. So would there be some hesitation or tension, maybe just with yourself, really, when a Board of Ed matter comes up and you've got to vote, and now you say, you worry about it a little bit. There's a little bit of a divided loyalty, just a little bit. And that's the philosophy of a conflict. Just a quick answer on that. I think I know what you're going to say, but I needed to follow up.
Sure, I think I can easily mitigate that. That's just in my personality.
Yeah. The code of ethics is a little different. I mean, the code of ethics is more specific, and it talks about a public official, a counselor, having an interest in the matter. It doesn't have to be financial. It could be a personal interest, a non-financial interest, and that interest may be the respect that a husband has for his wife's organization. That might be it. But every case should be different, because as the two extreme examples I gave, the different kinds of husbands, different kind of wives, different kind of relationships, different kind of roles, different kinds of issues. But that's what the code of ethics says. What has been in your involvement in reading the code of ethics and sort of getting into the issue I'm trying to raise here?
Sure. I've read it numerous times, sitting on various committees in town. We've also been bound to it as far as recusals, et cetera, and the entirety of the process. As far as interest is concerned, it's really somewhat of a fine line. We have a sitting council member who is a teacher who votes on union contracts, for instance. I mean, if that is a strict definition of interest, that wouldn't happen. We've got Board of Ed members who've had family members who are principals and other pieces in there. So, going through the process, I think I understand the clear line of delineation in the events. And there are only a small handful of them that I would need to recuse myself, and they would be directly as a result of something that Donna is presenting or involved with. Let's say, for instance, there suddenly becomes a disciplinary consideration for Board of Ed members. I mean, I'm just making things up, and she's brought, and the council has to weigh in on it, et cetera. Of course, I would recuse myself from that.
Yeah. Donna, back to you. This is mainly Chris's issue, not yours, and that's why I've spent the time with him on this. But playfully, can you promise us you're not going to lean on him? Can you promise us that you won't lean on him? Kind of lay off, I mean, is that?
I won't lean on him. We work well together. We worked for over 20 years together in the same company. And so I'm pretty sure we've demonstrated that we can do it. So, you know what? I promise to go easy on him.
I want to read a little bit from the resume that you sent to me. I'm not reading the whole thing word for word, but it serves a little to introduce you again to our voters. You say you've been a resident for over 25 years. Together with your husband, Chris, you've raised 3 children. You are a marketing professional. You specialize in technology marketing, having worked for Regan Technologies for 20 years before leaving for HSB, a specialty insurer. You recently joined the board of directors of the Connecticut STEM Academy. You're going to be serving as its treasurer, and you have been serving already, of course, on the Board of Education. Fun facts: you enjoy photography, but you describe yourself as a bookworm.
I am.
So any other quick add-ins? I mean, I can't read the whole thing, but we've got.
No, that sums it up. You can see my background. That is not a Teams background. It's not a Zoom background. That is a wall of books. So yes, I am an avid bookworm.
Yeah,
and I love serving the community. So yeah.
I've been squinting to read the titles, but I can't. Want to change the subject, and we'll get to Chris's bio in a second or two. But the hot topic in town, of course, is the high school issue. One high school or two, we ask all our guests about that. There's gotten a sort of a variety of answers and a variety of emphasis. But Chris, imagine yourself on the Wallingford Town Council. At some point in time, things will begin to roll forward, probably after the school board's consultant completes more of its work. But at some point in time, maybe in the next 2 years, you might be asked for an appropriation that moves ahead the one high school concept. That could trigger some hard feelings, some frustrations, a referendum. I want to know what your view is as to the appropriate or the best process, the best practice process for trying to knit the community together and accept a decision. And where do you stand on the one high school versus 2 high schools issue?
So for me, I have to take a multifaceted approach as to the high school question. One high school makes sense economically. If you take it and you do the comparison against 1 versus 2, renovate versus build as new, et cetera, you go through the economics of state reimbursements, et cetera, are just lean towards a lower tax impact to the resident by going that direction. However, you cannot ignore, we should not, and on the council, I will not ignore the other issues that are in play. I mean, there's a significant mental health issue. Massive high schools definitely are going to cause, and this is just from a high school perspective, not talking about other school consolidations that may very well be in our future. There's an impact about children getting lost, about class sizes having too many kids who are left alone, who feel by themselves, etc. Those things outweigh the economics as a father. But we really need to get the feedback, the open forums between parents, students, teachers, etc., as part of the process to feel what path we're going down. As far as a referendum, I would totally and wholeheartedly support a referendum if we were able to get the town charter changed in order to support that in a binding fashion.
Are you saying you favor one high school over two after the process, rolls out and there's more information out in the public domain? In the long run, you're a one high school guy.
If the mental health issues that are in the news and on the social media and et cetera, and the feedback that I'm getting from people, if those things can be taken care of and satisfied as to the best experience for the child, I would support one high school.
Donna, over to you. Chris mentioned the mental health aspect. We've heard about that. And a slightly related topic, kids feeling like overwhelmed, or the parents might feel they fall through the cracks. But I ask this question, isn't that a management problem? Isn't that a superintendent, school administrator problem, that kids can get good, exactly the same level and quality of mental health in a big high school as opposed to a small one? Am I wrong, or what are your thoughts?
No, I absolutely agree that they should be receiving the same services, whether it's in a one high school setting or a two high school setting. The level of service doesn't change with the size of the school. We would still have complete staffing. We would still be able to service all the needs of all the students, regardless if we have one high school or two high schools. We still have all the resources. We'll still provide the same level of resourcing. So I think mental health is important, but I don't know that it's a driving factor around the 1 to 2 high school conversation.
Yeah. From where I sit, one of the challenges for the one high school group, I'll call them, is explaining in detail how the services will not slip with one big high school. Again and again with sufficient, as I say, detail and specifics, so that moms and dads have confidence that if their kid should end up going to one big high school, the promise isn't broken. The promise of equal treatment, equal care, is fulfilled, and that may go some distance in sort of solving this divide, curing the divide. Your quick reaction to what I said, and then I'm going to change topics on you.
There's an inequality of the system right now. If, for example, one of the schools has to close down because there's a heating issue, right? So that means you have an inequality of services right there, because one school gets to attend school one day and one school does not. They have to shut down. Or if the cafeteria breaks down because the ovens don't work, again, you have an inequality of services. So with one high school, those sort of situations, and a newer high school at that, are avoidable, because you have a newer, more technologically advanced school, and we can provide the same level of services to all students rather than having them divided because they're on the opposite side of town.
Yeah, just a quick follow-up, but the issue is, will the level of care of the kids that need mental health slip because one big, that's the challenge for the Board of Ed to the message to get across. I want to change gears a little bit and take up Chris's bio. Chris, I'm not going to read the whole thing, taking little bits and pieces of it. But you wrote that you're a Marine Corps veteran. You started your post-military career at Southern New England Telephone in Connecticut. You rose to the position of director of IT for one of their startup companies prior to the acquisition of Southern New England Telephone by AT&T. You were involved in a variety of technology startups in the mid-1990s before starting Regan Technologies with the goal of solving complex computing problems. The next sentence I'm going to read word for word because I don't want to get it wrong. It says Regan Technologies is one of the largest information technologies provider to the U.S. federal government as a certified service-disabled veteran-owned small business and is the largest service-disabled veteran-owned small business in Connecticut. Over the course of your career, you and your team had built out infrastructures for the world's largest insurance companies, hospitals, financial services firms, as well as over 200 U.S. federal government agencies. You and Donna are also the founders of the Regan Foundation, which is a 501c3 for nonprofits it's a nonprofit that assists veterans transition from military service back to the community. Did I miss anything that you want to make sure that you got in and I didn't put it in?
No, I think that's the completeness of vision.
Okay. So last night, Tuesday, September 26th, the town council had a meeting. And there was a presentation by a businessman who had plans for the old train station. There was a write-up in the Record Journal online today. It'll probably be in the paper tomorrow. And it said that the presentation on the plans to redevelop the old train station met with rave reviews. I'm going to read in a minute some excerpts from that RJ article, the Record Journal article. But were you at that meeting? And give us your quick takeaway as to how you think it went.
Sure. I was sitting in the audience for the entire meeting last night, kind of mid-center in the auditorium, and there was a significant amount of people, from what I can see, shaking their heads, being verbal as far as no way, this shouldn't happen, etc. So I would take umbrage to the raving success or the positive success that, outcomes from that meeting.
Yeah, I wasn't at the meeting, but I watched it streaming, and I was a bit horrified at what I saw. And I mean, I take government decisions pretty seriously, as you know. I mean, I've been doing this for a long time. And I was also in school a government major, not a political science major, a government major. That's a lot different. The government majors, we've stressed the best way of doing things. Political science majors, they study how to get things done, right, wrong, or indifferent. In any event, I preach too much. But it looked like this is an anatomy of how to make a bad decision. And here's what I mean. It appears as if the Economic Development Commission screened out from the Wallingford Town Council reactions or information or proposals that they felt, the Economic Development Commission felt, shouldn't get to the town council level. It would have been better if the Economic Development Commission, I think, shared with the town council the various reactions they got from the people they contacted and recommended to the town council that the process be opened up to an RFP or bid or some kind of an open dialogue with prospective developers so that diverse ideas could come to the council in a regular fashion without Wallingford government appearing to favor one guy with one idea, and that one guy with one idea, no one knew anything about him, and we still don't. I'm going to stop, take a sip of water, and ask you for your reaction to what I just said.
Sure. The sequencing was a bit odd. Similar to what you viewed yourself. The EDC seemed to have brought in this developer who might or might not have an idea, might or might not have partnerships, and investors and collaborators, and may have a list of businesses interested, but it was very light on details. I would absolutely have preferred and will prefer, as far as this will be part of the next administration that I hope to be involved in, that these types of meetings or public forums, etc., be part of possibly an exchange of ideas. How about we did this? Maybe we look at this. What's the feasibility? Take a look at everything that's on the table, and then take the top three, put together a business plan, which is part of every business that I've ever been involved with. Present that. And I'm not saying the Shark Tank thing, but something along those lines, where here's what I want to do, here's what the expected outcomes for, and here is why it makes sense for the town. There was nothing in that conversation that left me as a resident that said, this is why it's in the best interest of the town.
I want to read an excerpt or two from the Record Journal and offer my gratuitous editorial comments, but there's a quote in there from the town's economic development specialist that says that the economic development of the town, it says, has had conversations with several developers. Well, I suppose that's okay, but this is all behind closed doors and not very transparent. And then it says, but nothing too serious to bring to your attention. The council may differ on that. The council may say, well, we'll decide what's serious or not. Don't screen it for us. And the fact that a developer or two was not interested may be very informative. It may be very useful for the council to make an informed decision to find out why some developers don't want to participate in this. Let me keep reading. There's a quote, and this is, I do believe, from an economic development specialist. They talk about the opportunity for this redevelopment of the train station. It has two phases for economic development impact. The first is rehabilitation of the building. Okay, we'll preserve and maintain the town asset. Okay, and provide an interior shell for future use. Okay. The next is close to a sales job. There's a P word, propaganda, that's a little too harsh because it has two negative connotations, but you can project such a rosy scenario that is very speculative in an attempt to sway people. And here it comes. It says the second is the redevelopment. This redevelopment will revitalize the lower portion of the town center. Really? It'll increase private investment in the area. And I say, oh, really? And erase the distinction between uptown and downtown? No, nothing is going to erase that distinction. They're separate geographical areas with separate, characteristics and so on. Recent progress in the town center includes updated zoning regulations, incentives, new and expanded businesses in the town center, and additional projects near the railroad. The historic railroad station will be a shining beacon. All right, enough's enough. This is one building, you put in one business, and it's not going to, in my opinion, it may help, but it's not going to transform much. The challenges in the lower downtown are much too great. But it goes on, and I'm going to share the idea now with our viewers that came across from this developer. It'll appear in the Record Journal article. Donna, you are our hypothetical customer, I guess. I don't know what role you're going to play. I'll assign it to you when I think about it. But it's for a food court or a food hall on the ground floor with seating. The way they described it, there might be 6 separate food vendors. We don't know if they're going to cook there or bring in food. We don't know if it's going to be high-end dining. Food courts are generally known for okay food. If you're at an airport or a train station, once in a while, they're very successful food courts in high-end malls and things like that. But a food court for the lower downtown where there isn't a lot of foot traffic, I just wonder, but I'm running this by everyone I can think of for their opinion, because I don't know. But Donna, you're on the show. And so you're all I got other than Chris. As a customer, what do you think?
I honestly, when I think of going to a food court or one of those types of places, I want to go somewhere else besides there. I'm not going to go there, eat, and then leave, right? If you're going to be in the area, be in the area. Like uptown, you can go to the restaurant, you can go to the stores, you can go to the library. I mean, there's so much to do uptown. Visually, downtown, the downtown area right now is not exactly attractive. What are we going to do? Go across to the countertop store and buy countertops? I mean, I have a hard time putting that idea into action in that area, because it's not I don't know, like you said, the foot traffic. What else are you going to do down there?
Yeah. Well, this developer who we don't know anything about, and the EDC did not introduce him to the town council with his track record of successful projects, his financial backing, his experience in this sort of an activity. And it may be that the track record and experience of the development matters. That's up to the town council administration. But here we know absolutely nothing about it, and he wouldn't identify the business interests that were joining him. But here was the part of the pitch. It was, well, this food court, this food hall on the ground floor, and basically a bar on the second floor, it would clearly create a draw to the downtown area, which has recently been rezoned. And I think that reusing the station as a destination venue, you can say it, but it doesn't make it true. Would be attractive not only to our residents of our town, but to people elsewhere. And here's where he really lost me. He listed Eagle Square in Concord, New Hampshire, and Parkville Market in Hartford as places where it has worked. They're nowhere near the same, nowhere near analogous. So, Chris, I'm coming back to you in a second, but I was extremely disappointed and again horrified that this idea gained the acceptance that it did, and I think the ball is now rolling downhill. It should be, being pushed further up and greater challenges, but it seems momentum is now building, especially with this Record Journal article. I think some readers would say, well, if a developer says it's true, it must be. If the Economic Development Commission says it's true, it must be. And challenging the voice of authority is something a lot of people are not used to doing. And here we have Wallingford's government, the voice of authority, saying this is going to work and it's going to be wonderful. Chris, you're going to get the last word on this, and we'll change the subject. So over to you now.
Right. You take a look at, we've got this great parking lot. We've got this great expansion that we've done that was going to increase foot traffic downtown, give the ability for people to park easily and visit all of the existing destinations, only to find out there wasn't as many destinations in which to find. I would rather see the parking lot today or within short order be converted to a place where food trucks can congregate, similar to a Long Wharf, etc. You go to Parkville Market, and the grand design about the bar on the top and the food on the bottom, etc. You go to Parkville Market, you take a look at the second floor, and it's empty. There's nobody that are going to climb the stairs to go up there to grab food. If you're looking for this, it's got to be delivery, possibly be a drive-through. Those are things that are just not possible in this location. There's a safety issue that people seem to kind of dance around, tunnel or no tunnel. We can go through any number of different problems with doing that, but let's first take a look back. The building is in disrepair. It is on the National Historic Registry. We have a duty as town government in order to not just repair this building, whatever type of beacon it is. I mean, it's great for postcards. I look at postcards from the 20s and 30s to see that's the train station. What a spectacle it was. Times have moved on. And we really need to take a look at, if we want to make it a destination, give the draw. What is there that is going to bring a large number of people for a single or possibly dual purpose use?
Yeah. I want to change the subject, Donna, and switch it over to your portfolio. And I want to open the topic by reading portions of an article that appeared on the Hartford Current. And as you will see shortly, it has to do with whether or not teachers are spending money on their classrooms for supplies for students. Let me read this, and I'm going to get it over to you and say, is this happening in Wallingford? Here's how the article goes in part. Each year, thousands of teachers in Connecticut and millions across the country put hundreds and even thousands of their own dollars towards their classrooms. It's a practice so ingrained in the American education system that it has become a given, an expectation that often goes unnoticed. In 2019, the state's largest teachers union, the Connecticut Education Association, and the American Federation of Teachers Connecticut partnered with NBC Connecticut to poll teachers on their out-of-pocket expenses. They found that 31% of teachers spent $300 to $500, 38% spent $500 to $1,000, and 18% spent more than $1,000 each year on their students. More recent studies suggest that teacher spending is only increasing. According to a national survey of teachers conducted by adoptaclass.org, teachers spent an average of $860 on classroom supplies during the 2022-2023 school year, an increase from prior years. That's not the only article I read about that. I mean, it's caught the attention of the national news. And every time I hear this, I'm alarmed, and I wonder if it's happening in Wallingford. And I just wanted to get the facts. So I get it over to you and what's going on here.
So it is happening in Wallingford. I think we see it every year in the beginning of the year. We see the adopted teachers out on the social media. We see all these drives. It does happen. I do know that teachers in Wallingford do receive an allotment, and I believe it's $300, which doesn't seem like a whole lot, but that is their sort of discretionary money that they can spend. They do receive basic supplies. So they do receive pencils and paper and crayons and those basic needs that they need in order to run their classroom. And then on top of that, they do receive this $300. And I know I think I've heard in some instances, some of the teachers will actually come together and they'll pool their money so that they can get more resources, so the biggest bang for their buck. So it does happen. $300 does not go an awful long way. And talking with someone today, they're like, so, sometimes we have a choice. Do we want to buy something like books for the classroom, which I need, or do I want that wooden puzzle that I need because that preschooler is would be better suited with a puzzle. Well, they're going to go with the books because that's what they need, right? And so then they go out and they ask for, that's where that adopt a teacher comes in. We would like this to enhance or augment our classrooms. And that does happen every single year. And I happily donate to that. And it shouldn't be that way. And I totally understand that. But I think there's also a reality that even right now, our budget doesn't get sustained. So how do we finance another $1,000 per teacher? How do we add thousands of dollars to a budget that will probably get turned down anyway? So do they deserve more money? Absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't even have kids in the school system, never did. But I value, teaching and teachers. A good educational school system is not only education for the kids, for those tax hawks out there, it's an economic development play to have the best school system in the area. I mean, it matters. What matters most in educating a student is a quality teacher. And it's a matter of attracting new teachers and retaining old ones, not old ones, but veteran teachers, so they don't retire early or move on. This problem has to have a solution. I don't know what it is, and maybe we can't solve it in this episode. But is there a possibility of getting to a point where teachers don't have to do this?
I would love to get to a point where we get to a point where teachers don't have to buy, those wooden puzzles or those extra sensory items or whatever it is that will make the quality of their education or the ability to teach their students even better. I would love to get to a place like that. It's a hard ask right now. When we have literally schools falling down around us. So, we have to prioritize. So do we give them, a solid foundation, literally, of a school that is in need of repair? And do we balance that with, well, how much can we afford to give the teachers every year to help them with that? So those are the choices that we are being forced to make right now.
So, Chris, assuming you're elected to the Wallingford Town Council, we're aware of the budget process. You approve kind of a lump sum amount. I mean, for appearance purposes, they're broken down into lines, but the Board of Ed can do with it what they will. So your power, your discretion is somewhat limited. But you do have a bully pulpit too. Sometimes it's useless, it doesn't work, but I hate to think we're helpless. And as a member of the Wallingford Town Council, you represent moms and dads and taxpayers. And but is there hope that we could be one day the only town in South Central Connecticut where teachers do not have to do this?
In an ideal world someday, we could get there. The realities are that each classroom has different types of needs. While some may need sit-stand desks and a teacher may need an iPad to augment different displays and visuals and pieces, I think there is, I think there's room to get that dollar amount needed on a per teacher basis down, but I don't think it'll ever fully be satisfied. I see from a business standpoint, requests from the GoFundMe's, requests from individual sites and socials that come back and say, look, I'm looking for, I had one teacher in Hartford reach out that their classroom was looking for 12 lockers so that their backpacks, et cetera, don't have to sit on the floor, and to give these kids pride in the place and to learn organization skills and all that type of stuff. So while we'll donate to those personally, I would, like to think that some type of program, either it be matching dollars or something along those lines, in coordination with the local businesses, the Walmarts, the Staples, all of the big box stores, can get us closer to where we need to be. But will it ever be fully satisfied? I don't think so.
Yeah, okay. I'm not giving up. I'm going to continue preaching on the Citizen Mike Show, and Anyway, let's change the subject. Donna, back to you for a minute. You've got a new program starting. I call it Cops in the Schools. You've had resource officers. Now there's more of a police presence. Could you, as our last topic and sort of bottom line this, why did the Board of Ed promote the idea of more police presence? What additional presence is there now? And does it seem to be helping or working as you had hoped, or is it too early to tell?
So we do have a new program this year where we do have 4 dedicated officers. We have 1 in each of the middle schools and 1 in each of the high schools. Previously, that was a position that was fulfilled by the Wallingford Police Department, but it was not a dedicated position. So they would either float between the schools, or maybe they had someone else called out sick, so they couldn't send someone into the school. So there was never consistency in terms of the same officer always being there on a consistent basis. So now what we have decided, or what we did, we worked with the police department and with the town to put 1 officer in each of those schools. This is the only officer that will be in that school. They will be dedicated to each of those 4 schools. The reality of the situation is safety is a paramount issue in today's society. I don't think anyone can argue that a police presence gives parents and teachers and students a sense of safety and stability. And that was one of the reasons why we really want to foster a safe environment for our schools. Having 1 dedicated officer per school also allows us to foster a community presence with that officer. They're in there. They're not in there as an enforcement of laws or rules or policies. They're there to create relationships with the students and with the staff. And that was really what we wanted to do. And it is really too early to tell. We're only a month into school. But for the most part, we're seeing a very positive feedback from the staff in terms of having that presence there, and from the students as well.
Okay, so far so good is what I'm hearing, and the program is likely to continue and be sustained. So, Chris Regan, candidate for the Wallingford Town Council, one of your platform planks is technology. That's been your background all your life, or your professional life, really. So what? Let's say you're elected on the town council. How do you impact Wallingford's trajectory towards technology? What do you do? What specific changes do you think you can make?
Sure. All of my life, I've basically looked at ways of making things work better, faster, more efficient, more cost effective, et cetera, both from a personal standpoint as well as a commercial and now government standpoint. I'm looking to provide guidance as to the practical application of technology in every area that can have a level of optimization. But more importantly, so this is not just a issue of direct deposit. I know it's a hot topic these days, and I think it's been clearly identified from the town, the challenges in which to do it. They're not technology challenges, for that process. And we're taking a look at things like electronic bill pay, et cetera. Of course, those are basic tenets of how a town, how a municipality should run these days. We need to open up a better way to have the residents and citizens of the town interact with the administration, whether it be reporting of issues, from a pothole to a crack in a sidewalk to a variety of different safety concerns, et cetera, and for the residents who report that to know that they're being heard. So my big push is for a citizen and a resident or resident engagement platform portal that you can enter your information into, what service you may need help with. It could be any of the divisions, it could be any levels within those divisions, and understand and know and be able to track where that is in the journey. If I've got the same issue as 3 of my neighbors on the same street, that should automatically elevate into some level of action, perhaps a bit more quicker. So our people just don't want to be heard. They want to know that their requests are being handled and it will be done in a timely enough fashion. So I'm all about key performance indicators. I'm all about dashboards. I'm all about measurement. And I'm all about taking a look at how to optimize the dollars that we have, or maybe the lesser dollars that we have, in order to get things accomplished. And that's basically the tenet of what I can do.
You know anything about a direct deposit? Not everyone does. It's sort of a personal payroll issue. I don't know what your experience is, but it's been a story. What do you make of it?
Sure. My organization, 60 some odd people across 8 states and numerous countries, has direct deposits, and we've had it since we were 20 individuals. It is a fairly simple, most minimal cost transaction where effectively funds are transferred the night before payroll is done directly into people's bank accounts. People can opt to get a physical check if they want, but it goes through. The issue that we have is timing. Everything needs to be coordinated and correlated. All of the tax pieces need to be taken care of, and all of the individuals need to consent to having their money put into their accounts at such and such a time on such and such a date during a regular payroll process. For the town, the direct deposit issue has to do with 6 different union contracts with different types of payroll requirements and needs, where we need to do the coordination of all the contracts at once to align them with the same calendar in order to more effectively process payroll at a one time, on a weekly, biweekly basis. To get the people paid and employees and residents taken care of.
Well, that kind of sounds like the unions may be an obstacle, but that's not an assumption I'm making. I think that's what has been said, that the unions have been an obstacle. I don't know if it's true or not true, but we've been sort of living with this dilemma for many, many, many years. You're relatively new on the scene, but this subject has been a talking point like every 2 years, every time there's an election. Citizen Mike's solution, and you can pass this on to anyone you may know in high places. Citizen Mike's solution is send a union all letter and ask for a reopener of their contract on this direct deposit issue, and offer some incentive for them to all opt in, whether it's a sick day or an extra vacation day or a cash bonus, and make it reasonably expensive in the short run, may pay off in the long run. I don't know where anyone was going with that, but it's something that ought to be tried and may very well work. Now, Chris, if Vinnie Cervoni, who is running for mayor, knew you were making this kind of a comment on technology, would he back you? Would he endorse you? Would he support? Yeah, Chris, you go get him. You're absolutely right.
So Vinny and I are completely aligned as far as the requirements and needs of the community from a technology standpoint.
Meaning spending more money to upgrade as you have described.
It's not necessarily a matter of spending more money. There will be certain levels of investments that are needed for the long term. I mean, a certain portion of any modern day organization is a technology budget of some way, shape, or form. That in and of itself is one step higher than what we have today, as we have seen. So I've been knocking doors with Vinny. I'm introduced as the technology guy in order to get this happen. I've been an advocate for the hiring or the floating of a position before the end of this administration of a chief technology officer to make sure things, the projects, the security, all of the different components and people that are involved in getting the stuff up and running in the most efficient manner are done.
Donna, the Board of Ed, I think, has direct deposit. They seem to be ahead of general government with respect to technology. I'm not sure about that, but does the Board of Ed education community have any, technology needs that are unmet insofar as you know?
Nothing in terms of like a fundamental one, like, direct deposit. For the most part, the technology needs are being met. We have a technology budget, we have a whole IT department. And so, we fully support technology. We have Chromebooks for every student that, comes through our doors. So they understand that technology is a way of life right now. And there's no way that you can run a school system without it.
Let's make that the final word. We have run out of time. I want to thank you both for coming on the Citizen Mike Show. Both of you, good luck on the campaign trail. And sooner or later, in some context somewhere, we, the viewers, hope to see you again. So thank you for coming on.
All right. Thank you, Mike.
Mike.